I just wanna lie. Yeah. Not a little bit, nah. Who did it? Me. I just wanna lie. Lie. I just wanna lie. I just wanna lie. Lie. I just wanna lie. I just wanna lie. Wobble up the spot, no dance, not drunk, cause money in my pants. I just wanna lie. Sip a drink and it got me in a trance. Take the money, baby, I don't wanna dance. I just wanna lie. Got a salary up in my cargo. Push one button, make the car go. Bet I've been the man since top speed. Best kept secret, but it's time I need a spot. I just wanna lie. 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 I just wanna lie, not a little bit. I don't need a pint, just a little sip. Been up in the mood and it's active. Up with the moon, I'm relaxing. I like nice things, pricey. Whole lot of carrots, my type thing. Whole lot of characters like me. If you only tell me yes, you can be around me. Free from around me, you can be around me. With some B's and some C's, yeah, they be around me. Be around me, don't you sleep. I just wanna lie. I just wanna lie.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast. This is episode number 229, The Hungry Cove. Welcome back for another evening of chatifying, speaking, exchanging of ideas, changing of the guard, setting of a new era. This is our new format show for the 17th of February, 2022, the year of our gaming. Here with me, I have Mr. Towmaster99. How are you doing, Tow? It's gonna be super. Hey, Tao, and say that one more time. I apologize. You probably won't be able to do exactly the same thing, but I had you muted while the intro music was playing, so it wouldn't come out over the intro.
All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going tonight? It's a good thing we synced up today on t-shirts today, because we're both got Superman t-shirts. I have the Alex Ross Kingdom Come Superman symbol.
Yeah.
See that? Is that the movie one? Is that the one you got?
I don't know if this is Val-Zod, or if this is Evil Superman, or if this is post-Doomsday Superman. I think this is post-Doomsday Superman. Okay. And yes, probably like the Justice League movie.
Nice.
So, if you're not familiar with the new format, we're going to talk about all the games that we've been playing and where those games traverse across recent news. We will discuss as such. So, as always, we start off with our first segment, which is our new releases that we've been playing. I didn't really do the scramble on this, so I will go ahead and start with OlliOlli World on PC. DBQ Hams reported out on this game a couple of weeks ago, I believe. And have you been playing this also?
No, I haven't picked this up. Not yet, at least. I got the original OlliOlli. Actually, OlliOlli and OlliOlli 2.
Okay.
On the Switch.
Okay, so I've been playing, so it's OlliOlli World by Roll7. Again, DBQ has talked about this in the recent past. It is technically, I guess, in the genre as a sports game. I have been playing it and think of it more as a 2D side-scrolling platformer, is kind of how I equate it. It has kind of that indie art house art style. DBQ talked a lot about how difficult it is, and I don't know whether it's because I got acclimated to Trials when I was playing Trials Fusion, that it doesn't feel hard to me. I mean, not any more than it's supposed to be. So I haven't been frustrated It's just been fun, and I've been focused. You know, when a thing is hard, it moves so fast, and you know when you cross a chasm, right, and you pull off a trick, it just feels so rewarding. And I'm maybe just so accustomed to that notion of, you know, going through a map, a level, and nailing the first 50% of it, you know, and getting really, really, really good at the first 50%. I'll also say part of it is I know me, because the way I play the game is the same way that I play Trials and some other game that's kind of in the same vein. And what I do is I go through, if a level's really challenging, I will eventually just go ahead and use a checkpoint to just, like, finish it. And I'll rehearse it, right, to finish it. But then once I've done that, I will then attempt, I think I play Forza like this a lot as well, because I don't play with rewinds. And then I insist on finishing the level with no checkpoints. That's like my minimum, and Trackmania is the same way. A lot of times I insist on just, I'm not worried about, like, how great my time is or how great my score is, but I do want to finish every level without using a checkpoint save. I'm not doing any side missions. And one thing that, and it's not quite a knock, it's a little bit of a knock, maybe. One of the issues with this is, like, I'm on the third biodome, or the third map, the third world, and they're still giving me tutorials. So I'm like, there's only like 5 or 6 worlds, right, in the whole game. I'm like, and you're still piling and layering on stuff that I have to figure out how to do. And so one of the ways that I've now had to incorporate how I practice and rehearse those levels to try and get to a point where I can nail down, you know, a perfect, you know, completion without using a checkpoint save is I will go through a level only worried about grinding, because you basically, you have to grind, I mean, to get across, like, some of the segments of the map. But I won't worry about doing holds, and I won't worry about, and now I have to think about spins, and I won't worry about doing spins. And so I'll just simply try and traverse the level from point A to point B. I do always take the gnarly route, unless I, like, mess up and forget, but I always, you know, when I am consciously aware of it, make an attempt to take the more difficult route. And then when I come back to try and complete it without a checkpoint save, then I will do holds and spins. So, but it's pretty neat. It has a pretty neat kind of, you know, it's got little kind of ootsy cutesy dialogue. I don't know how I want to label it. It's just like a weird dialogue, kind of like Teletubbies is not. It's just nonsensical dialogue about this, like, fantasy world, you know, where that it's all about skateboarding, and it has some neat, interesting characters like Mike and Dad, and even I think the little girl Suze has some, you know, smart alecky things that she says. So, you know, I'm having a good time. It's the type of game, you know, DB often talks about things being a palate cleanser, and it's a good kind of a palate cleanser game, like in between, like, your Halo Infinites and your Calls of Duty. You know, it's a good game to step away from all that stuff, but I also appreciate the fact that it's not, you know, an article that I recently read on a blog talked about kind of this new genre of the cozy game, right? Kind of like, why do I want to say Animal Planet? But what's the
Animal Crossing?
Animal Crossing. You know, this game that you kind of curl up with on the couch, you know, in your big Snuggie, right? And, you know, and play the game, and it's nothing but, like, good positive vibes all the way through, and there's no real conflict. And so it's not a cozy game. It's a chill game, and it's an existential game. But it is a challenging game.
So did you play OlliOlli 1 or 2? The original ones?
I have never played any of the games of the series before.
I didn't think I remember hearing you. So what made you pick this one up? Just because it was a chill game that you wanted to, you know, do something different?
Well, so it's an interesting turn of affairs. As you will notice tonight, I only have one platform that all my games are coming from. My Xbox Series S and my PlayStation 5 and my Nintendo Switch are over in the corner of the room on the floor, packed up and bundled up to be sold off. So the past few weeks, I have been converting over to gaming on PC only. And so that means that my breadth of view, while PC is very wide, at this beginning of the year is fairly constrained, and I've only had one platform to look at about, in terms of like what top games have come out. And OlliOlli World is, one of the top games that's come out so far. So again, my swath of vision has been appreciably shortened, and so this was one of the games that I went after to knock off my list.
Okay, nice. And then I have another question. I forgot what it was. Oh, so you're talking about the tutorial. So are they like showing you new moves, or like what are they showing you like when these tutorials are popping up later in like that third world?
Well, it's really good, even though I'm kind of sort of complaining about it, right? It's really great in that they are not demonstrable tutorials, so they don't suck up a lot of your time showing you how to do a move. They tell you how to do a move, and then they, in the dialogue, in the conversation, in the script, and then in the voice acting, which is like kind of in this little kind of like simoleon kind of gibberish, and then they show you like a set of like storyboard kind of graphics about like what you're supposed to do with the controls that you're supposed to actuate, and then they just turn you loose on the course. And so it's not naggy. It's just that I've talked about like in Crisis and some other games. Like I love games that give you tools to surmount challenges, but lots of games suffer from this thing of like they just get right on the edge where they give you too much, and I'm like, okay, man, and and then with a lot of those games, I get to a point where there are just certain techniques that I don't bother with because they're just too high of a cognitive load for me to keep up with this catalog of various tools that I have at my disposal. So it's kind of like that. Like it's challenging enough just figuring out how to, you figure out how to jump, and then you figure out how to grind, and then you figure out how to wall grind, and then after all that, with some really particularly challenging courses, then they add holds onto it, right? And so you're a fair chunk into the game before holds are ever introduced. And then they add spins to it, like on top of all that. So it just feels like this increasing level of complexity to you get to a point where you feel like, okay, this is enough, this is all I can handle, and then they layer yet another thing on. One thing I will say, as I do appreciate the pacing of the challenge, meaning that in every 10 to 12 tracks, I will say, courses, there will be one or two courses that are really difficult, and you have to play over and over and over and over. Like I've had some nights, and I've been live streaming it. I've had some nights where I've spent like 30 minutes trying to get a course. And of course, again, that's because I'm insisting on getting through it without any checkpoint saves, right? I'm sure other people playing it will just blaze through it and complete the course, and move on to the next one. But I've spent it's taken me like a half hour to get to a point where, I can complete a run with no checkpoint saves. But when you complete those, the things most of the tracks in between seem fairly challenging to the extent like, okay, I really have to pay attention. I can't like really fall asleep at the wheel on this, but they don't feel impossible. Those really challenging courses feel well nigh impossible, but as you surmount them, your confidence and your muscle memory and your skill set in performing the courses in between get good enough that those don't feel like a grind.
Does it give you? And I can't remember because I had played the first one at least. I got both of them, but I didn't play 2 yet. Does it give you like challenges for each course, like to do?
Yeah. So each course has like Mike, one of the characters in the game, always has like 3 challenges that he issues you on every course, and it's up to you whether or not you want to do them. Like you don't have to do the challenges. I'm sometimes not even like I'm consciously aware of the challenges, but most of the time I don't actually try. A lot of times the challenges it's kind of like a Chivo, right? I don't ever deliberately go after achievements. But when they happen and they just pop, it feels rewarding, right? So the things give you your personal best score, when you complete, so it is nice that, again, it's nice that there's a quantifiable benefit to playing it the way that I play in terms of, trying to complete each course with no checkpoint save, because, then when I come back, I get a personal best, and then when I come back, you can clearly see that the game scored you higher for, that accomplishment. The other thing is, it will, as you're attempting the course, it will pop rivals who are nearby you in score, and so that's another rewarding thing, that when you come back and complete a course without a checkpoint save, you wind up defeating that rival. So all in all, it's really good. It's a great soundtrack too. It's a great soundtrack. When I hit the point where I start hearing some of the songs repeat, you and I talked a few weeks ago about how, I've integrated Spotify into my live streams. After the first night of, like, once I hit the songs hitting repeat, I'm like, okay, let me integrate the Spotify again so I can, hear some different music. But what they have is a really great soundtrack.
Are the rivals, those are just AI NPCs, or are they like ghost real people scores or something?
So you don't see the ghosts like you can do in Trackmania, at least, not naturally. There may be a way to turn those on. It's hard for me to tell, because the first rival that you see that thing pop for is an NPC in the game, Jefferson. But every other time since then that I've seen those rivals, those are people on the leaderboards that you can go see their scores in nearby proximity to you, as far as I can tell.
Oh, okay. There's no multiplayer, right, of any kind that you know of?
Not that
I don't remember them saying. Yeah.
Yeah, not that I know of, other than you're just fighting against rivals or whatever on the leaderboard.
Okay. Cool.
All right, man. And I'm going to go ahead and stay on the mic and knock out my second one, because I want to hear about yours, because your game is actually on my radar to play next week.
Yes.
But I have also been playing God of War, as I've made this conversion to PC, because it's, again, one of the best games out this year. And man, I know people love the Sony brand, but, like, anyone who looks at God of War on PC, just like Swiss and I talked about, and DBQ and I talked about, when we finally got to play Destiny 2 on PC, anyone who sees God of War on PC and doesn't go, that is the way, to take NVIDIA's, tagline, and doesn't see that is the way that game was meant to be played. Like, I think I would consider that a sad perspective to have. Like, it is an amazingly luxurious, like, visual feast to see. I'm playing it on a 6700 on a Radeon 6700 XT on a 144 hertz curved screen 27-inch 1440p monitor, and I'm getting frame rates pretty steadily above 120. Them hovering around the low 120s and then scaling at times up to 144. It is like, and I played it on PlayStation 4, back in the day, and it is just so far above, how that game looked on a 4K TV. I mean, I played it on a PlayStation 4 Pro. It's just amazing. Like, it makes me appreciate the game a lot more. Like, I toe dipped into it on the PlayStation 4. I didn't stick with it that long. I wasn't super interested in the story. But I will say, just the technical presentation, I've been playing it with my SteelSeries Arctis 7 headset, and, like, just, the audio coming through and the visual presentation is just amazingly lavish. The interesting thing is, I was going to talk a little bit later about the fact that, one of our news stories is about the fact that Horizon Zero Dawn just hit 20 million units sold just a week before the release of Horizon Forbidden West. I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit here. This is why Sony is putting those games on PC, because they are, number one, because they're amazing experiences, but also because, if that game doesn't go on PC, then Horizon Forbidden West doesn't get to 20 million units sold, right? And, and granted, it's on PC, so there's probably discounts going on. People are probably selling them on these discount gray market storefronts that everyone claims is legal, out on the web, at cheaper prices. However,
it was actually on sale for like $25, I think, a few weeks ago during their the Chinese New Year sale, I believe.
Right.
Steam. So yeah, it just kind of pretty. That's when I bought it. So
Yeah.
it's been just kind of pretty well lately. So it helps.
Yeah, and so those are units sold, and so at the end of the day, I mean, they don't amount to as much revenue for Sony, but still, right? I mean, in terms of zeitgeist and, you know, Wall Street, you know, you wind up reporting units sold, and, you know, typically the revenue that a particular title isn't really discussed. So the important thing is it's getting those units sold. So it'll be interesting to see how many units they sell of God of War. You know, of course, it would be more interesting if we saw how much they sold on PC. But, you know, there are Steam charts to check that stuff out too. But like I said, the experience is amazing. You know, the audio. You know, Christopher Judge. I've always loved those taciturn characters like what was his character's name on Stargate? I'm forgetting now. Teal'c, yes. You know, like Teal'c and Worf, you know, and Odo, and I forget who what was Jason Momoa's character on Atlantis?
Oh, that I don't remember.
Yeah,
I think I only watched like a season of that, so
right.
I got to go back and watch it.
But I've always loved those characters, and you know, just again the experience of hearing that through my PC audio, you know, on that SteelSeries headset, you know, I pay so much more attention now to, you know, Christopher Judge's vocalization of his lines, and even Atreus, you know, to a certain extent, and, you know, that initial fight with Loki just, like, drove me so nuts, like, the first time I played it on the PlayStation 4, but this time I found it, you know, was so enjoyable on PC. You know, I had convinced myself that I was going to play it with mouse and keyboard before going into it. But again, talking about the way it's meant to be played, you know, playing a Sony Interactive Entertainment game with an Xbox controller is just a fitting way to eat your pie, you know, on the PC, where you can customize your experience to your own personal liking. And I've just always preferred the Xbox controller over the PlayStation controller with its, you know, offset analog sticks. And it's a great experience. You know, it's, you know, the one gig I will give against it, because, you know, I'm going to go into this in more detail next week as part of our PickZ PlayZ report, is the progression system is a little convoluted to me. Just in terms of you have skills, you have 3 different trunks for skills, and then within each skill trunk it has, you know, multiple branching verticals that you can go down, and then you can also level up each of your weapons. So, you know, you have your skills, Atreus' skills, your weapons, and Atreus' weapons, and it's a bit much. And even though it's not, you know, a multiplayer online game, I still feel like you have like 9 different forms of currency and things that you're trying to gather to take back to whatever the dwarf's name is, to fashion weapons upgrades, blocks or whatever. So, but it's neat, you know. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, I'm definitely more of a shooter person than a melee combat person. But the combination of melee and then ranged attacks with the battle axe in this game is just really, really sublime. You know, I've been kind of ranking, you know, gotten around, because now I've finally played enough third-person action-adventure games in that kind of Sony pantheon that has not normally been, you know, where I live. But, you know, I definitely have in my head across the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 generation which combat systems were most appealing to me. And the top of my list is Miles Morales. And this is right behind it to me. Not all of the level traversal I'm crazy about. Like, he does this... it's kind of what you would think a Gears of War animation would be for jumping. So it's this big, burly, like, toad jump that I don't find particularly attractive. But I get it, right? So but the other forms of level traversal are pretty neat with just the way he can clamber on walls, and climb and move around different levels. So yeah, so I'm having a great time. It was a good experience on PlayStation 4. I don't want to say that it was a bad experience on PlayStation 4. It was a good experience on PlayStation 4. It is a amazing, wonderful experience on PC.
Nice. Yeah, it's probably one I'll wait until it goes on sale at some point and pick it up. I played the first couple God of Wars back in the day. I'm pretty sure I beat the first one. And then the second one, I know I didn't beat the second one because I got stuck at a certain point. But yeah, it's definitely one I want to go through. And I can't remember when you guys had talked about in the past. This is more. Are the levels kind of more how God of War was, where it's just kind of like you go kind of point to places, or is it like a big open, not like an open world, but like it's just an open area you can kind of go around in?
They talk about the game being an open world. I still have, I'm playing it again now, and the way I remember it, and I'm not at that point in my new run on PC. The way I remember it is it takes a while till you get to a point to where you're presented like a map and it's really an open world for you to go around in. And I still don't know. I still don't remember for certain if you were able to traverse the map in whatever order you really wanted and concurrently progress the story. So I'm not sure if what you were presented was just a bunch of side missions or what. But I haven't gotten to that point yet, so hopefully I will get to that before I report out next week.
Okay. Cool.
All right, man. So you have been playing what is potentially a return to the desired greatness of Amazon. Is it that? Have the sins of the past been corrected?
I don't know. I haven't played any other Amazon games before, so this is my first one. So yeah, I'm playing Lost Ark on the PC, and yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying the game. I've just interacting with other people and other servers and stuff like that. Like, oh, people are interested. I'm like, oh, what is it like? What are you doing? I'm like, and kind of just in the simplest terms, it's basically like Diablo Online. You kind of have that isometric view of your character, three-quarter view, and you're battling just these creatures as you're going around these different areas, and you're picking up loot. Although the loot drops don't, at least as far as I've played so far, probably like 3 or 4 hours. I had like maybe an hour, but just solo playing. Then I was playing with one of my friends. We're playing on the server, and they weren't like coming fast and furious like kind of Diablo does. Like there's just stuff, flying everywhere when as you're beating the creatures and stuff. But there is a pretty good drop rate going on, and this is a free to play game. So and then there's like founders packs and all these other starter packs and stuff like that you can pick from. But the base game is free, so I just did the free one right now. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. After the first kind of like tutorial level, you kind of get thrown to the first. Well, I don't even say first. I think it's the only town that you kind of work out of. Get your missions and stuff like that. So and then you're kind of just off, and you can go and do what you want. Just go through the story or do side missions. There's a bunch of side missions you can do. So you have kind of like your normal like mages and the warrior types as far as classes and stuff like that you can pick from. There's a martial artist class, which that's the one I picked for my solo playthroughs, which is kind of different. I don't think I've ever seen that before in a type of game like this. At least not that I've played, and I've only played a few, so it's been a while since other than Diablo, it's been a while since I've played anything like this. But yeah, but you kind of power up and you got your skill trees and stuff like that. You add your points into what you want or what you need. So I'm having fun so far with this game, and I'm really enjoying it. I know there's been a little bit of, I guess, fervor out there, which I didn't realize until probably these last few days. But the character classes are gender locked. So like martial artist is a male, he's only a male. So I mean, you can pick like different faces and stuff like that, but you can't change the gender. And then the other one I chose when I'm playing with my friend is an assassin. So she is a woman, it's a female. So she has like these two swords. She has two swords, like kind of smaller swords that she's always carrying, and then she's got like a big like blade sword that she has on her back. So you can do different combos and stuff like that. So it's I guess people are up in arms. I'm like, God, doesn't matter to me. I mean, I don't care if I can't change. If I got to play a woman, that's fine. Play male, it's whatever. So, and then there's something else. I don't think this is so much that the community, but just for me, is like when you pick in so there's different servers obviously out there, and then when you pick the server though, you have to like start over basically, and you have to choose a new class. So that kind of bugs me because like I kind of like to have used that martial art list from the first server I picked because my friend had picked a different server initially. So I was like, oh well, I'll just go onto your server and I'll start over. That's fine. There's multiple. You can do multiple playthroughs. And then the other thing was he had mentioned that he had saw on what he had read and just talked to other people. I guess the story, if you just go through the main storyline, that's actually pretty short. And I guess you can like level up. You can basically max out your character just by going through the story. So I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I guess you could just do multiple playthroughs at that point. So I mean, if it's so short, and he didn't mention like how long or how short it was, but like in hours or anything like that. But he just said it's fairly short. I'm assuming like within a few days you could probably do it. So, but I just thought that was kind of interesting that part of it was pretty short. So, and then I was just kind of thinking like, well, I mean, kind of what's the point then of like if you can go like we're just playing he's doing the free to play too. If you're just doing the free to play, I mean, it's kind of like once you do maybe like one or two characters, it's just kind of like I don't know why you kind of keep going. Like I guess if you had like a whole party and maybe, but I don't know. To me at least, I just didn't get the reasoning for it being so short of a story part. So I don't know, but I know obviously they'll probably add on, story missions and stuff like that, down the road. But no, yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep up with this one. So
yeah,
let me know if you want to play.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on getting into it. I mean, I find that kind of interesting and kind of comforting that you can. I think I'm not so much worried about the fact that you can max your character, but it is nice. It took me a while to figure out and realize that, in Destiny 2, sometimes the most rewarding way for you to level up is to play the campaign, right? And a lot of my, frustration in living in Destiny 2 was the fact that I often found, because I didn't just commit to the playing the campaign model all the time, that I often felt it was convoluted, what you needed to do, right, to really progress, until, like, the Forsaken time point when I was like, oh, you should just play the campaign. Like, you should stop worrying about doing, bounties and a lot of these kind of abstract, kind of randomized things, because I was just trying to cover a lot of the territory and see a lot of what the game had to offer, and I was like, you like the story, just play the campaign, and they're going to level you up, through that. It wasn't to your max, but it was significantly enough that, going it my own way, the problem was I often wound up having nights that I felt like I didn't get anything done or I didn't progress enough. So it's nice that they just kind of roll that red carpet out for you so you have a clear through line of like what you need to do. Because even non-MMOs, like I said, that's to me what a really big part of the challenge is. Like in a Far Cry, right, or The Division, it's picking how you're going to play the game, and not from a mechanical standpoint, but like how are you going to progress the campaign? Are you going to be a side mission person? Are you going to be a main campaign person? Is the main campaign path clear and obvious enough, or do you wind up spending a lot of time Googling, right, to figure out what the heck the path is? So I can kind of appreciate that, and I guess I would hope that the reason to continue it is that along the way you fall into some social group, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guild system within the game that they already have in there, so you can create guilds and do all kinds of stuff like that. So I don't know. There's another game like I don't know. As you add people, if it gets harder or not, because it seemed pretty easy when the two of us were going through, and that was another thing too. There were certain areas when we partied up where like I shouldn't say we got split off, but we had to do that area on our own, just as a solo. Like I was just doing it as my solo, player. Like we weren't together. So, and then like the bigger kind of like I guess dungeon areas, and then they put us together. So I was like, that's kind of weird. Like I've never that's never happened. Like I've never seen that in the game before. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like I know kind of in Destiny that kind of does that too, but you're kind of like you can go into like certain areas where you're fighting with like everybody there, and then obviously near the end point, then it splits you off. But this was kind of the opposite, and I was just like, I don't understand that. But I mean, it's I guess just game design. So, but yeah, it's just kind of weird thing like that happened. But yeah, I'm liking it.
Yeah, the other thing that I like about that that design in terms of it's sufficiently rewarding potentially for you to just do the campaign is, as I've mentioned before, my requirement for all of these games is the game model and its design has to be set out in such a way that I can solo queue. It's because the vast majority of the time that's what I'm going to want to do, and then I will also then want the ability to then join up with other people. So, if you can solo queue the campaign so that like on weeknights when I play at like crazy hours and nobody else is around, I can do what I need to do, and then on a weekend I can connect with people to try and get some other things done.
Yeah, I don't think I hit any major bosses when I was playing solo, so I don't know how that's gonna be. Like I said, with the two of us, it was fairly easy when we got to those parts. But I mean, I guess that's kind of the other. I don't want to knock on the game, but it's just like it's kind of too easy. Like even if I'm soloing, like it's just like I'm kind of just ripping through guys. I mean, I mean, they give you a ton of potions that you can put your health up to if you're not like a healer. So it's like this game is like super easy, like which I don't mind, like especially nowadays because I don't have a ton of time to jump on games, but I just thought it was just kind of weird that like right off the bat I think I had like 30 to 40 potions, like and not I needed them at that point, and then I just kind of I just kept adding to it. So like by the time we got to some certain areas, I had like 60 or 70 potions. I was like, I don't have to worry about I'm just gonna run in there and start beating people. I'll just potion up. So I don't know, it's just kind of weird.
Well, it's Amazon, man. 2-day shipping is always free, but the stuff that they're really going to bolt onto it is definitely around the corner.
Yeah, and just graphically, it looks fine. It looks great on obviously my machine because it's kind of a newer machine that I have. So, the other thing that's like I said, I don't want to say a knock on it, but when you're going through the story and kind of like the NPCs and the people doing the voiceovers, it's just like kind of cringy. Like they're kind of like caricatures almost of like the person they're supposed to be. You got the big macho guy and the big tough guy, and the villain's kind of like got a weird. Almost reminds me kind of like a Zelda villain. Not obviously not Ganon or Ganondorf, depending on what game you're playing. But what was it? I think it was Skyward Sword, maybe, where it was like a different villain, I believe. And it's kind of over the top, it's like it's like kind of turned me off a little. I was like, that's all right.
Well, it's an Eastern-made game, right, in design, and so as I've been listening to you and other people talk about it, my expectation would be that it would be a heavily JRPG oriented, action style and storytelling style, kind of wrapped in Western visuals.
Yeah, that's a good one for it. Yeah.
Very cool, man. Hey, so that's all of the new releases that we've been playing. We're gonna go ahead and roll on to our regular rundown and round robin, where we talk a lot about our backlog and things that aren't quite in that 90-day release window ish. One of the things I've been playing on the PC is Metro Exodus. So I had plans and intentions to play the Enhanced Edition because I have the regular game and the Enhanced Edition. And of course I was reminded as I tried to play it actually on this system. This system or some other old junk box that I had that had a Radeon card in it. I was reminded that Enhanced Edition only plays on NVIDIA GPUs. I guess the new 6000 series Radeons have their version of ray tracing, and so the game will work on those 6000 series RX cards. But I had to retreat and backpedal to the regular Metro Exodus. So I started that again, kind of knowing, the things that I was going to get into from having started the intro before, pushed on further than I have normally pushed. I think I'm 33% through the game at this point, so I kind of went into, escaped Moscow, went out into the world, got a flavor of some of those other activities. It's a stealthy kind of game. It has some dependencies on that. They've done a bit to kind of alleviate the survival kind of aspects of the game, like how much time you have to spend underneath the mask and how often the mask gets cracked. How often you have to change canisters. All that they've backed off on a little of that. Having played at least some of Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, there's an alleviation to a certain degree of the anxiety that I got playing those games where you're in the mask and you're in tunnels, and it's pitch black and you just don't know what's coming out at you. In Metro Exodus, you of course get out into the world, and so it's really nice to play, and that it's no less dangerous. One of the things is where the train initially goes and kind of gets stopped in the area of the world that you're kind of investigating before you eventually get back on the train and continue on. There are all sorts of, mutated beasts and stuff throughout the area. It's very interesting, because now you can sleep. So you can choose, kind of in the same vein as Red Dead Redemption 2, you can choose how long you're going to sleep for. You can choose to, right now I did not want to be bothered with the potential challenge of night travel. And so I have elected to rest until daytime every time. But that doesn't necessarily make it easier, because the beast can obviously see you. And so, sneaking around and taking them down while not making a lot of noise and getting everyone to swarm you in this area where, if you hug too close to the water line, then you can be attacked by the monsters who are out in the river. But if you penetrate further inland and don't watch what you're doing, then you encounter beasts too. Have gotten the initial round of additional weapons and gotten initially into the crafting bit of it, which is probably a little, I don't want to call it watered down, but it feels like it's along the lines of the Horizon Zero Dawn model, where, as I mentioned before, crafting doesn't seem like such a pain to try and figure out. Also not as useless as I felt the crafting was in The Last of Us 2. It's great. And again, even though this isn't the enhanced edition, that game studio, who is filled of a bunch of former devs who worked on Stalker, I forget what the subtitle is called, Shadows of Chernobyl, that first game. They have a Crytek-like esprit, design ethos where they are always trying to crank the visuals, and so it's an amazingly beautiful game, even though I haven't yet really gotten a chance to play the enhanced edition. I don't know, man. Have you ever played any of the Metro games, or have you been thinking about getting into any of them now that you're on PC too?
No, I don't know. It never interested me, like, when I was, like, watching gameplay and just seeing previews and stuff. I don't know why, because, looked like it would be up my alley, but I don't have no, like, desire to play any of the Metros. And I know they always review fairly well, and people always, the community says they're great, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm, like, kind of turned off by the game for some reason.
I mean, it's a slow... I don't know that I would use the term plotting, but it is a slow, like, take every inch cautiously kind of game with a lot of, like, inch to inch of movement, like, cognitive juggling of, what you've heard. Then you throw puzzles into there, which, I won't say really kind of overburdens the game, but definitely there is a certain... It is not it is not a Call of Duty, high on adrenaline, uplifting game to play, right? To say the least. This is not kind of like the bright, colorful, like Friday night thing, right? That you try and like decompress with. And in fact, earlier, a few months ago, I was playing Metro 2033, and I just had some nights that I came home and that was what was on my list, and I was like, I don't feel like that tonight. let me play Forza or something more bright and colorful. So I definitely get it. Speaking of bright and colorful, you have been playing one of your mainstays, a battle royale. Why don't you talk to us about your recent experiences on Fortnite on the Xbox Series X?
Yeah, so I started playing again, not last weekend, but the weekend before, and throughout the week. But before that, though, like the past month or so, like I maybe played like a couple times. It's pretty rare for me because that's like one of my mainstays. But I know I've been playing other games, so it kind of took me away from that. But I jumped in there. I was playing. I had some family over, and I was playing with my nephew. And I was just like, oh man, why did I stop playing this? So I started playing again throughout the week, and it was more of that just because I hadn't been. Why I put it on here is more of just because I hadn't put it on. I hadn't played it for such a long time, and just like. That bug bit me again, so I jumped back into it this past week or so, and I just been having, I'm thinking, I think the season is just about over. Actually, a few more weeks. This first season of the year, so just trying to go through my battle pass, which I had already gotten. I think I was already like up to like 70 or 80 level, which is 100 level battle pass. I don't know about this season. Like I went through that. Like I got up to that point like within just like a couple, like 2 or 3 weeks. So and it usually takes me longer. So I don't know if we're always playing around with the XP system and how you accrue experience points and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just kind of went through it like pretty quick this time. So I think I'm at 94 or 5 or something like that now. So I'm pretty much near the end. So just kind of working through that and doing like challenges and stuff. But like just that, it's kind of annoying that they do that. Like they change it like almost pretty much every season. How they do the challenges and how you even accrue excuse me, the XP. So I don't know. For a while they'd actually like they didn't really do like I don't think they've ever done like double experience points or triple. Like kind of like Call of Duty does or some of the other games. But they would throw like different things out there, like, oh, hey, if you find these certain things, they'll give you extra XP. But they haven't really done that in a while, so it's been mostly challenges that you had to play through. And now they have like different like tiers. There's like a season challenges, and like the weekly and daily and stuff like that. And there's like special ones for like the special characters you get. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But with that, I see that you have. Speaking of Call of Duty, you have a Call of Duty news story up there that you threw up there about the next iterations.
Yeah, so I figured this would have caught your eye in passing. So in the last week, we've gotten word that there will be a new Call of Duty Warzone coming out. So this from the Game Informer site, Call of Duty Modern Warfare sequel and new Warzone confirmed for this year. Today, a Call of Duty community update gave fans a peek into Season 2 of Warzone and grander releases on the horizon, namely the annual title for Fall, which has been confirmed to be a much-rumored sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare reboot. This makes me happy. Just the overall kind of mechanics and physics of the World War II scene is no longer my cup of tea on Call of Duty, which is sad to say. That's where, obviously, the series got its start and really thrived on the Xbox and Xbox 360, but I find playing in kind of a more modern setting with modern weapons in a modern progression tree to be something that I'm more interested in. So it'll be nice to have a return to that. When the first Modern Warfare came out, I was just not a Call of Duty multiplayer player. I was kind of on my 8, 9, 10 year sabbatical from that. But I really enjoyed the single player, and I played the single player campaign and finished it, and really, really enjoyed it. So I'll be glad to go back to that, and further glad to get back into that multiplayer, which Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Modern Warfare were much closer to each other in terms of how you would expect the multiplayer content to unfold. So again, was not super happy about the off ramp to Vanguard. So I'll be glad to see that come back, and it might be another year where I spend a lot of time on Call of Duty. So it'll be interesting. Again, new engine. We're the new Warzone will share the tech with Modern Warfare 2. What's going to be interesting is obviously, I saw a lot of people who, even when this was a rumor and hadn't been announced, complain about the fact that, well, now all the stuff that I have, isn't going to carry over, and so on and so forth. And I'm just kind of like, those are the breaks. It's not, Warzone is by no means the only gaming model out there where your progression for stuff doesn't carry over. I think, when this topic first came up, what I said was I feel like the publishers kind of owe it to give people a 1-year heads up, and here we have a case where they didn't do that. So, by the same token, it's like when a new console comes out. Obviously, when you do announce it, that's going to incentivize people to stop continuing to put money into current day Warzone. And so the question is, is current day Warzone just going to kind of shrivel up, over the next few months, as people are like, why would I bother pumping more, effort into this, expecting some progression out of it, if that progression is just not going to carry over. So, I don't know, man. Are you looking forward to a new Modern Warfare, a new Battle Royale?
I'm looking forward to the Warzone, because that's where it started. At least Warzone side. There was a previous Battle Royale game from Treyarch. I forgot what that one was called now. Blackout, I believe.
Yep.
But I actually didn't buy Modern Warfare, the reboot or remake, or however you want to, what that was a few years ago. So I don't really know why either, because maybe because I was probably super into Fortnite at that point too. So I was just like, I don't know. Even though I picked up another Battle Royale game with Warzone, but I just didn't feel like going back to kind of just like the run and gun, multiplayers games and stuff like that. So I was just like, I'll just check out Warzone since it's free anyways, and kind of go through. But I might actually pick this one up. Maybe even go back and pick up Modern Warfare, just to go through the stories, because I always have like the for the most part I've liked the single player games in Call of Duty, so just that kind of thrill ride. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Warzone. They make a bold statement here that there's a massive evolution of Battle Royale, and there's a lot of feature new, it's going to be revolutionary and all this. So it's be interesting to see what they're going to bring to the table going forward here. And this is Infinity Ward, so we'll see.
Very cool, man. Well, obviously, Call of Duty is a game where you're never really dead, or, with any significant consequence, just other than the few seconds it takes you to respawn. That is not, however, the case with Hades, which you have been playing actually over Xbox Cloud Gaming. So, how exactly have you been consuming that, and what's your experience been in it? And have you played just on metal on Hades, or you've only participated in it in the cloud?
Well, let's talk about Hades here. Actually, it's not even Hades. Let's talk about Xbox Cloud, because it's gonna be super short. Still, at this point, they don't let you change the position of the controls, because I was playing touchscreen. And I don't even know. I was just like, one night I was, it was later at night, and I was just like, I want to play something, but I don't feel like playing anything on the Switch, and I don't want to turn on the Xbox or PC or whatever. So I was like, I'm on my phone. Let me just jump into XCloud once again and try that. And I was kind of just flipping through the games, and Hades, I've been wanting to play it. It's on Game Pass, so I was like, all right, I'll boot it up. And I'm at home, so I mean, every time I do XCloud at home, it's fine. It starts up pretty quick, and I'm right in the game, fairly quickly. But it's the controls. I can't. And I know it's touch controls. People are going to say, well, duh. Of course, it's going to be kind of crappy. But for some reason, still, the vertical position of the control sticks and the buttons are like right in the middle. So I mean, you can't see anything when you're with that kind of configuration. You can't move the sticks or move the buttons like up or down. So they're just kind of stuck there. So I was like, man, I can't. And I tried. I was trying to play it. I just couldn't, like, because it's like my thumbs are in the way. Like I couldn't do it. Like I just want to have them on the bottom, like all other games. Always put that stuff like near the bottom, near the corners. So at least you can kind of see the screen. And then I got a Pixel XL, Google Pixel XL. So it's a fairly large phone, but still it's not doable. I just can't do it. There's other games I played on there, like kind of more, I guess like adventure, like point and click kind of games, or like something called Life is Strange and stuff like that. Like that's easy because you kind of just press, oh, let me look at this thing. So you just press it and she walks over there, or whatever. So those are kind of easy. But like something like Hades, you can't.
So this,
you need a controller.
So this game only has touch controls, because there are touch controls and then there are virtual gamepad controls. So this only has actual touch controls.
Well, the way I was playing it, I just have touch. I was just using the touch controls. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah, I'm curious whether or not this has the virtual controller overlay to it. That I don't know if that layout is different, better, or if you can. I always liked on iOS the controls that you could actually move around to your own personal tastes and position them on the screen how you so chose. So I don't know if you can do that with the Xbox Virtual Controller, but
no, you can't. I tried, because I was just like, it's not working. Like I can't do it, and it's done that too in other games, not just Hades. And like I said, I didn't want to like rag on Hades because it's not Hades' fault. It's the cloud system or just the UI interface. So so I can't. I can't do any kind of touch control right now on there until you can move it. And controller, I played a controller before. Obviously, that's fine. It's just normal. And I have the little like doohickey thing that I like slap onto my controller, and I can put the phone on top. But
okay.
I didn't have any of that around, so I was just like, I'll just do touch controls. So
right.
It's just
So did that interfere with your consumption of the game enough that you couldn't even really assess whether it was a good game or a game to your liking?
Yeah, that's not, like I said, there's nothing against Hades. Like I until I can actually play it like normal, or either on the controller, or if I'm on my phone, or on my Xbox, or through a PC, whatever. I'm still I'm still not going to judge Hades on that. So it's not Hades' fault.
Well, let's go ahead and turn the discussion to a game that you were able to play on Metal, albeit on your Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Arceus.
Yeah.
So this is the second time that you brought this game to the podcast. So how far have you progressed, and how much of a difference have you seen in comparison to your initial report out?
So I got to, I guess what would be considered like the first boss, because there's not really any gyms in this, as far as I know, there's not really gyms in this iteration of Pokemon. So obviously in previous games, there's like, I think like 6 or 7 gyms that you have to, beat the trainer, and, that's, you get your badge and all that. This is like, takes place in the past. So, you're kind of just, people are kind of just now like, not discovering Pokemon, but like starting to kind of like deal with them, and kind of capture them and, use them as, workers, or, friends, or whatever, or helpers, or whatever. So there's an area when I was progressing through the story where I have to beat like the super, it's not like a legendary or anything, it's just like a super powerful Pokemon that's like, freaking out and stuff. So, I have to go and beat it. So I was able to beat that barely, just because I didn't, for some reason, I didn't like go and like check like what kind of, like what kind of Pokemon. I think it was like a bug Pokemon or something. And I had some other Pokemon that kind of counters that, but most of them my guys didn't. So I like barely like kind of squeaked through. So I beat him, or it, I should say, because I don't know if it was male and female versions. And now I just went back and I'm just exploring the world again, and just picking up Pokemon and doing side missions, because that's what I do. I like to do side missions, and it's that old Skyrim thing where like going through the story, and then I just branch out into like a million different directions, because there's like, oh hey, this guy needs to you gotta pick berries, or find a specific Pokemon or something like that. So I'm just going back on that path, and just another thing I like to do too is, and it's probably gonna take me. That's probably why I never finished any of these games. Is as I'm catching the Pokemon, like I'll usually like keep a couple, like a male and female, and I because you can breed them like in the earlier games. I don't know if you can do that in this game or not, but so that's why I kind of always did that. I'm still doing it here, like even though I don't know if I can breed or not. But so when I catch these ones, I'll go up like 10 levels each on each of the Pokemon. I'll switch them out, go up 10 levels. So it takes me a long time to get through stuff. So I'm doing that again, and that's what I'm kind of doing. And obviously, like I said, I'm traveling the world, and I did notice some weird things though. So like, there's some of the bigger Pokemon, like the Gyarados, which is like a big dragon Pokemon, one of the like giant birds, like kind of flying around this one area. So so I saw it, and I was like, all right, cool. So I go back, and when I was coming back to the area, and I didn't notice this the first time I came into it, I could see him flying around, but he was like just like one frame at a time until I got like kind of close to him, and then he started like kind of more smoothly. Okay, that I think you're kind of seeing the limitations of the Switch at that point. So I just thought that was kind of a funny thing. It was just like I can just see him like going like this, like it was like a flip book almost, kind of motion. So it was kind of funny. But but other than that, yeah, I'm just exploring away and trying to catch them all, as they say. So, although I don't think there's as many, I think there's only like over like 100 something, 150 or 30 or something like that on this one. So it's pretty smaller set.
So I know this is a question that I always ask every time on the Switch, especially when we talk about a title that that is hitting its performance envelope. But so is this a game that is no part of it is cloud enabled to be streamed to you?
No. Yeah, there's no cloud in this one. Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. Well, very cool. A game that I'm playing that does not have any performance impact to it, as far as I can tell, because it's an older title, is TitanFall 2 on PC. I have, as I've been moving parts around and stuff in the studio, I wanted to go back and get into Titanfall 2 and play that on some of my newer hardware. So, as always, it's a wonderful experience. Playing at super high frame rates now with DLSS and whatever the fast resolution or whatever the Radeon thing is called. I gotta look that up.
Are you just playing the story?
I am just playing the story. Yeah, so I'm not playing the multiplayer. Yep. That is the Radeon thing, the resolution FX or whatever, is a thing that when they first started talking about it, like I never actually saw it in any video games. It is pretty prevalent now, whether or not it's being introduced in newer games or is being patched in. And so it's something that you can often take advantage of, to improve your visual fidelity and get some of the variable refresh rate into some of your games. But again, I've been having a great time. It's was nice going from Titanfall 2 to OlliOlli World, within a relatively short breath, because obviously in Titanfall 2 you have a lot of the weird traversal opportunities. You have the time shifting that you get to do to, get through a level, so you can shift backwards in time to a point where, there was a bridge there, right, to get across, a long chasm. And you get to make that tactical choice to whether or not the combat in the past is, more surmountable than the resistance, you might find on that level in the future, so you can time shift back and forth to get out of bad situations and whatnot. What's really amazing is Titanfall 2 being an older title and seeing how well it continues to stack up visually to games now. Just goes to show you, what teams are capable of, even when the team is not the size of, Infinity Ward, Infinity Ward plus Raven plus Sledgehammer, or as big as the Destiny as Bungie is. So again, really good and really great graphics and really great mechanics. Involved with the mech fights. It's sort of, to a certain extent, because a few months ago, and also at the end of the year, I kind of talked a little bit about Mech Warrior 5, and definitely disappointing that, Respawn was able to turn, such a great mech-based game out, but then, the MechWarrior guys couldn't. One of the things that's been super interesting as I've played it is, again, playing it on new hardware, playing it on a faster monitor, playing it with a upgraded GPU from, whatever it was when I played it last time. One of the things that's super interesting is now I get and I see that, oh, this is the Apex thing, right? So it was always funny to me that, like, whenever I've played Apex, and I'm not a huge Apex fan, I've only just, like, experimented on one night or whatever, I never connected what I was seeing in Apex with Titanfall 2. Like, when it was referred to from a marketing perspective as, oh, this is the Titanfall 2 world, I'm like, that is totally nothing but marketing speak. I feel like nothing like Titanfall when I'm in Apex. But, now that I'm paying more attention to the story, I'm seeing a lot of those hooks. And potentially, unfortunately, in much the same way as the golf swing, my success in performance in playing in Titanfall 2 may in no way translate to how I would do in Apex. But I have been tempted to go back and give Apex another whirl. Now that, again, I'm more consciously able to map, mechanics and things that I see in Apex back to Titanfall 2. So I don't know if that will happen. I've got a lot, on my plate to play from a shooter perspective. So, yeah, we'll see.
Nice. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned when I saw that you were playing that, because my son actually started playing Titanfall 2. And the reason he started playing it was because of Apex Legends, because he's playing that first. And one of the newer Legends is like a daughter or somehow related to one of the Titan pilots, so from back in the game. So which is kind of neat that he was playing Apex, and then hey, he wants to play Titanfall, so that's pretty cool. That he can make that distinction and go over there and he got interested in playing Titanfall, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, of course, I'm in that pool of people who would love to see a Titanfall 3, and it would be a neat thing, for all the Apex players out there, if any of them did actually get interested in the lore. Who would experience that game and cause there to be a much bigger conversation about that game. Because, of course, as we've referred to multiple times on the show, this is the game that unfortunately was squeezed in between Battlefield 1 and that year's Call of Duty, and kind of got written into obscurity. So it is a game that is a cult classic, in terms of backlogging and people revisiting it as your kid is doing. So I hope that will continue, and eventually, we'll maybe get a Titanfall 3. On the heels of that, while we're talking about, Respawn Entertainment, who is a studio in Electronic Arts, another story that put EA back in the newsreel was that more than 160,000 Battlefield 2042 players have signed a petition asking for their money back. So this story was run on Kotaku at the tail end of last week. Battlefield 2042, in this article by Zach Zwien, Battlefield 2042 is having a really messy launch. Now, as it becomes clear that fixes for Battlefield 2042 aren't coming anytime soon, more than 150,000 players have signed a Change.org petition asking Electronic Arts to offer refunds to all players on all platforms. So, at least at the time of this writing, that had not been successful. EA did not say, hey, roger that, you guys are unhappy, let me give you your money back. It's interesting how things in the gaming industry and events within close proximity to each other can set precedents and expectations that people have. Obviously, what people are thinking and feeling is the Cyberpunk 2077, series of events and how that went down, and the fact that CD Projekt Red eventually felt compelled to, work with the store owners of the digital storefronts and make arrangements for people to get their money back. I'm sure that people are of the mindset that if they push hard enough, they may achieve getting the same thing for themselves in Battlefield 2042. One of the things I don't get, right, about this mentality is, so people who have signed this petition are probably not people who have played the game for 2 hours or less. right, which would bring them in line with Steam's refund possibility. But they're also probably people who have not played the game for just 8 hours. They're probably people who have played the game for a significant amount of time, sufficient enough for them to care enough to go sign this petition. And so one of my questions would be is, well, I mean, for the game, which I'm sure tons of people bought on discount, I don't think it's a $60 game now on Steam. I'm sure it's down at, $40 potentially. But on sale, I think a lot of people bought it, at that price point. How much of I know you're not happy with your experience, but if you've already put 40 hours or so into the game, do you really warrant your money back? I don't know. What do you think about that, Tal?
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was like, do these petitions even ever actually work? It's like I get it. People are upset, but like you said, it's like, if these guys are playing 20, 30, 40 hours, it's like, well, you can't ask for a refund after that much gameplay. It's like, come on. It's kind of ridiculous. I get it. I think they mentioned here it's not. I guess they postponed the fixes or maybe some content or something until the summer of this year. Which that kind of stinks that they're you're not gonna. It's gonna be 6 months from after you got the game that they're gonna try to fix this, or I'm sure the fixes will probably come a little bit sooner, hopefully. But I think they're just talking about the content, the new content for the summer. But still, I think the fixes were delayed too. I don't think they mentioned for how long, but I'm sure they're gonna come. And if you really if it really bothered you, you would have seen this what the problems were within the initial probably hour or just under 2 hours of gameplay, and just even in the I only played the beta and I saw a bunch of stuff and I wasn't sure how they were going to fix it, in 2 weeks or a month, however long it was after the beta, the actual game released. But they released it, so people saw it, and people always say, it's just the beta, so it's not the final build. But I don't know, it's going to be pretty close. So you kind of see how it's going to go a little, at least for the most part. So I don't like I said, I don't even think these things ever really do anything as far as I can tell, at least for the game wise. Maybe for other things, but I've never seen where and I've seen these articles before, where there's people putting petitions for stuff, and I've never seen them actually work. So I just I was just like, okay, that's nice. I guess there's 150,000 angry people out there, I guess, but it's not going to really do anything probably. So
I'm so divided on this issue, right? Because like you, I'm like, I don't know that this is accomplishable. Look, the Steam refund policy, which I've run across and had problems with myself and disagree with. At the end of the day, Steam has a policy. It's patently obvious and clear what it is. If you break that, I don't really know that you have recourse to go ask for your money back. Anybody can always ask, but of course, there's an element to this, because one of the articles that I didn't put in there, I don't think I put it in our rundown, is how the community manager, close on the heels of this, stopped participating in the Reddit chat around Battlefield 2042, and because, as we've talked about many times on this show, people have resorted to name-calling and insulting and making death threats. And I'm like, he's absolutely right. And then other people were like, yeah, but you're a community manager, man. You need to get thicker skin. I'm like, no, it's not my responsibility to expose myself to abuse, right? Because you're getting wrapped around the axle about a video game, right?
Yeah.
Community manager, my job description, as far as, how I would see it if it were me, my job description does not say, participate all day, every day, in, social media forums on Twitter and Reddit, when they're all toxic. His point is that, look, I would love to participate, right, in the subreddit if it were productive, but much as I say about things, that I'm going to do at work, or things that I ask people to do at work, I'm not going to make an investment in effort, right, when 80% of it is toxic just to extract 20% of value out of it. That's an upended ROI equation, and it's not, it's not what would be required. But, at any rate, but where I'm torn on this is when I found amazing and flabbergasting when I read this article is, the quote is, updates to add things like voice chat and the scoreboard have also been delayed. Like, this is where DICE gets into trouble with me. This was a problem on Battlefield 3 or whatever on the Xbox 360, right? And I complained about it then, or maybe it was an extension of Battlefield 2 or whatever that first Battlefield game was that was on the 360. But this was a problem then, and I was frustrated by the fact that DICE never repaired it. And this is part of the problem that there is with DICE in the Battlefield series is DICE does whatever DICE wants to do, and they apparently have license to do so by EA. And they came correct, when they did that with Battlefront, I think largely because Disney picked up the phone, right? And they changed the microtransaction or loot boxes or whatever they changed about it. But they also said about the business of filling it up with more content and being more responsible about the IP. But notice at everything else that they do that does not have a Disney to pick up the phone and call them, I just, again, I go back to the, DICE does whatever they want to do, and if there's a thing that's in a game that they don't feel like being bothered fixing, they don't fix it. Like, that Battlefield game on the Xbox 360 never got voice comms correct, right? And I'm like, that to me is inexcusable in a massively multiplayer online game, right? And in fact, I often pin the transition to people talking in party chat, and attributing that to toxicity. It wasn't solely because of that. It was also because, right, game chat was broken on a game in the early 360 years, and people then started converting to talking in party chat because it was the only way you could do any effective comms. And in a massive game like Battlefield, where you have 64-player matches, only being able to talk to 5 of your teammates is problematic. So, I just... in the last few years, we've seen, I want to almost say, almost every darling developer shop lose its mojo, right, in some way. BioWare, BioWare, Blizzard, I want to say there was one other that's, and Bethesda, right, have made massive miscalculations and really turn them out of favor with their community. And DICE, in my mind, just doesn't have a good reputation as a responsible development house, right? Amazing technology, right? But, this is the third Battlefield title that they have flubbed, right? With a Battlefield thrown in there along the way. So, in some ways I feel like the people who signed the petition are justified. Like, I don't know. It's a mess. That's all I can say.
You figure these companies would learn, like, after all these mistakes that all these other companies do, but they just keep doing it. Like this, like you said, this DICE has been doing this since the 360 era, but
right.
Wow. And I guess because people keep buying the Battlefield games, it's like, okay, well, they'll figure it out eventually, or something like that. It's
right.
like, gonna do that so many times. Obviously, Bethesda saw that really bad with Fallout, and you can't just release a broken game, and it's gonna bite you in the butt at some point eventually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, you can be a responsible citizen of the gaming community by doing your homework, as we will report next week on our monthly PickZ PlayZ assignment. Sony first-party titles are now being ported to PC, so you have twice as many ways to get into SIE's stable of properties. So play one, and for anyone who does not want to go down the SIE path this time, your job is to find a title similar to an SIE PC port and play that. So DBQ Hams is going to be playing Marvel Spider-Man Remastered on the PlayStation 5. I will be continuing my run in God of War on the PC. Tao?
I will play Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC.
Very
spot.
cool. Very cool. I'm very interested to hear. I mean, I haven't checked that game out myself, so I'm very interested to hear with you having heard, how I feel about God of War. If you have similar experiences playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't think we missed anything. Up next, I'll be getting back into Halo Infinite. I now have to pick up my campaign run through on PC that I had started on Xbox, so that will finally give me a chance. I think I may have played the multiplayer once on PC, but I haven't played the single player, so that will be an interesting opportunity to see how that goes down. Tao, anything else that you want to talk about or add in?
No, I'll be continuing, like I said, playing Lost Ark and obviously Pokemon, because that's pretty much all I've been playing lately. And then also, obviously, Horizon Zero Dawn. So, yeah, I'm excited again to play that one, because that was, and I think I mentioned this before, well, other than Spider-Man, that was probably one of the other games that was Sony exclusive that really piqued my interest. So, robot dinosaurs and, bows and arrows and stuff like that. I always like bows and arrows in games. That's probably one of my favorite weapons. So, and I think I'm probably going to play, because it's third person, right? I believe Horizon Zero Dawn. I think, remember correctly. For some reason, I can't play third person games with the keyboard and mouse. I got to use a controller, so I'll probably pop in my Xbox controller and play with that. So, that was the other thing I forgot to mention about Lost Ark. Man, playing with a mouse and keyboard, and I don't know if this is the same thing with Diablo, is no, I couldn't do it. I cannot do this. The movement was weird, because you had to I think you just click around, the screen, obviously to move around, or you can hold down one of them, either left or right, whatever you set it up as, to move your character. And I was like, this is not going to work. And then my friend mentioned, it's oh yeah, you could play, with a controller. I was like, oh duh, I forgot about that. So yeah,
Now, was that
so much easier.
Was that on Lost Ark, you say?
With Lost Ark, yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's...
So, I mean, it's a little difficult, because you gotta, obviously with the keyboard, you have you got a ton of moves actually in the game. So you have to hold down left shoulder button, and then you do X and Y and Z, or hold down the right shoulder button. So, and that's a little annoying, but I'm used to doing that anyways in other games. Like Diablo, you can do that Diablo when I was playing on the Switch and other games like that. So, didn't really bother me too much. But yeah, just the movement, I just can't move like that. I got to use the stick. I don't like clicking around or holding down the mouse button and and moving. So that's one thing you might want to check on. I don't know if you're fine with that kind of movement with keyboard and mouse, but I just couldn't do it.
I'm not sure. I guess I'll have to try it out and find out. I've definitely played Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 with a keyboard and mouse. So,
okay. Yeah, I mean, you should probably be okay then.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. What I always find is kind of the tail of the tape with that is just in how crowded the screen gets. I do prefer playing, with mouse and keyboard for that, but I do also hate, on Diablo, when, particularly with a ranged attack, right? You are trying to attack. You've got a group of enemies. You're trying to attrite them by staying out at range and firing, but the problem is, as soon as you kill the one that you were targeting, and you left click again, you're almost guaranteed to not hook an actual enemy, and so then you start running. You basically kicked on an open piece of ground, and you start running towards them. You're like, no, I'm trying to stay away. That's the whole point. So it would be it'll be interesting to see how that is with Lost Ark.
Yeah, I'd be doing that with the movement, and then I'd hit the actual menu move, and I'd actually do the move. I was like, oh, I didn't want to do that, and then I'm getting wailed on by the enemies. So I was like, I can't, dude, I just can't. Gotta use a controller.
Well, we'll definitely check that out and decide, figure out which way is best of those two opportunities for me. So next week we will be back with all four co-hosts. DBQ Hams will be in the hosting chair, and Tao Master, myself, and Swissguard will be backing him up as he orchestrates the band through our next round of conversation. So until next week, take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. Play the games that you like and come here to talk about the games that you love. Once again, my name has been Game Logic. My co-host has been Tao Master. This has been the Enough to Keep Going weekly games podcast for the 17th of February, 2022. Until next time, good night, good luck, and good gaming. That's going to do it for us. We're out of here.